My name is Councillor Paul Follows. I represent the Godalming Central and Ockford ward, and I've been a councillor since 2017. Two things. Firstly, there was a resident in the building that I lived in who was basically fleeing from domestic abuse, and she was struggling to get anything done to help her. And I saw that and felt I needed to get involved. And secondly, the other one is a bit more what you'd expect from me, I think, which is that just the national and local government and politics just drove me to feel like I needed to do something about it. Well, I'm a member of a political party, and part of that process is getting selected by that party, and obviously I chose a party that aligns with my own personal values and has a mission to do the sorts of things that I want to achieve as well. So I joined that party, and as a member of that I stood for selection, won a selection and then won a by-election in December 2017. I think there's lots of reasons why somebody should become a councillor, and I think my first thing would be to ask people watching this a question. Are there any council services that you've ever had a problem with, or ever complained about, or ever wanted to change? Because if there are those things, and most residents have at least one of those things, you should probably try and stand as a councillor, or at least think about it, because actually standing for election and voting at the end of the day are the only reasons anything ever changes at all. So that would be why I stood, and it's why certainly I'd encourage other people to. So there's lots of things I enjoy about being a councillor. The first one is that this is actually where I live. I'm representing the people of where I live, and I'm trying to change things for the better for them. It is also trying to drive that positive change. I enjoy working with my colleagues, my fellow councillors. I enjoy working with the Waverley Borough Council staff, all of whom are dedicated to driving that change too, and to getting stuff done to help people. And I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy the debating. I enjoy the politics. I enjoy having the sort of cut and thrust of the debate about getting this done and why. And I honestly would encourage anybody who wants to be that sort of change and to drive that sort of change to stand for election, because actually once you're here you can get a lot done. Actually, there's a few things I find challenging about being a councillor, and the first and foremost is actually the same reason a lot of residents find it frustrating, because sometimes councils can be pretty inaccessible, sometimes they're overly complicated. Some things are complicated for a reason, but sometimes they are overly complicated. And it's also a frustration when you can't get something done, because sometimes there are legal reasons or financial reasons, particularly in the sort of cost of living crisis that we're in now. It impacts councils and government as much as it does anybody else. So for me, those challenges, getting stuff done in an environment that is constantly trying to stop you doing anything, is the bit that I find most challenging. It is also the most rewarding, because once you get through those barriers and break through, which for me is what a good councillor should do, should be finding ways through that. That's the bit that's really rewarding, because you've managed to help somebody despite all those challenges, and that's one of the main reasons I do this. And one of the other things I find challenging about being a councillor is, of course, that because I'm 36 and relatively young for a councillor, I'm still working a full-time job. And so one of the things I would say is that the council will go out of its way to make sure that those people who are working full-time, part-time, or have got caring responsibilities can take part in the democratic process as fully as they should be able to do. It is something that we've worked on really hard over the last few years, and certainly something that we want to make even better than it is now. I think it would be to not worry and to not panic, both about how complicated sometimes things look at council from the outside, because actually not only can you get the time to read, and you get officers' support, and you get people to help you, it is also just not assuming that because I haven't been here 30 years that I'm not ever going to know anything or be able to meaningfully contribute, because actually everybody comes in with different life experiences and different abilities, and just different things they can contribute to the process. So it doesn't matter whether you're a full-time politician, or whether you are you're working full-time. It doesn't matter. There is something you can contribute. And I think that's the sort of thing if I could go back in time and tell myself that actually yes, you can do something meaningful here even from day one to help people. I think that's the sort of thing I'd like to have known a bit more when I started.